Today on the Winning with Shopify podcast, I'm trying not to get too technical. My team are very technical, as you can tell. Only a third of those products had actually had a sale. I know it can be quite clunky to get bundling like that to work on Shopify, but it's so worth it. Or automotive, as you guys call it, the automotive in America. That's the end of my American accent for the day. Big question then, what's the difference? And why should I care? Even if you know the difference, let me explain why there's a power in that. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. For anyone that's not tuned in before, my name's Nick. It's a pleasure to have you tuning in to the brightest, pinkest podcast you've ever seen in your life. We talk about all things Shopify here. We have listeners in, and we checked this morning, over 33 countries. And like a good marketing agency, it means we've got 34 countries where you guys tune in. We've got hundreds of thousands of people tuning into this show, and it's a pleasure to have you all on that journey. We've had millions of views over the last 12 months, and it's an absolute joy to see some of these statistics, and even more of a joy to hear from some of you guys. So I'm going to talk today about something that I've got lots and lots of emails in my inbox about. This episode, just checking the date, this will go out on the 18th of July. So I'm recording it on the 16th of July, which is 24 hours after my first ever Tuesday Talks has gone out. And spoiler alert, we've had some good names recommended for it since the episode went out yesterday. So we're going to change the name next week and probably keep it as a new one. And it's playing on my Britishness as a presenter. But anyway, without further ado, this week's episode, and this is the full episode today, I don't have a guest because I'm going to do something off the back of something I started on Tuesday. And we've had so many of you guys saying, can we get some more of that? And I've gone, yeah, we can get loads more of that. What we did on Tuesday is I read out 4 things we had learnt last week in the agency, specifically in my PPC team, about things that were working on Google Ads. There's a couple of social bits and pieces in here as well, but mostly with Google Ads we focused on. Things we've learned that are changing our strategy for that particular client. So these are all across different clients and different learnings. We're not going to read the clients out because we don't have the time to email all of them and say, can we mention this in the podcast and mention your name? But I can promise you these are all real and legitimate things, and these are all game-changing strategy things that we learned just last week alone. I read 4 of them out, and the 4 that I read out on Tuesday were only 1 in 10 products added to cart actually got purchased. When users land on, the second one is when users land on the website, they go straight into the search bar. They don't actually use the nav, crawl across any of your pages. They just go straight into the search bar, and the search was rubbish. The thing that users click on Google Shopping to land into the site was rarely the product they actually purchase. So we need to change what the landing pages do to help you get from the one you've landed on, knowing you're not going to buy the one you've landed on, but get you to one similar that you do want to buy. And the fourth thing as well is when the cost per conversion was higher, we made more revenue and more profit. So sometimes we want to bring that cost per conversion down, so you're paying less per new customer you acquire. But actually, when we paid more and we increased the amount we were paying Google per new customer, we made a lot more profit on those orders, because the more we paid, probably bigger, more expensive items. So we're bidding against people at higher bid prices and that sort of thing. So I read those 4 out, and I said 26. We're now up to about 33. I'm going to read out as many of these things I can in the next 26 minutes. So I've set a timer. We're 4 minutes in on my timer right now since I hit record. I know the episode's not quite 4 minutes, but when I hit 30 minutes, I'm going to stop. So 26 minutes from now, buckle up, sharpen your pen or pencil, and yeah, let's see where we go with this. And if any of these strike you guys, you got any questions, send us an email afterwards, hello@winningwithshopify.com. I do keep a rough eye on the inbox, and anything interesting or any big questions can get sent through to me from my team. So we will reply to you if we can. Right, this is interesting. Of all the products that were showing on Performance Max and therefore on Google Shopping tends to be the best channel, only a third of those products had actually had a sale. So of all the products that had spent money, only 1/3 of them had actually made a sale. If you were to just take the other 66%, the other 2/3 of those products out and just run that 1/3, I don't know what would happen. It wouldn't necessarily, these things are never linear. It wouldn't necessarily mean an uplift in revenue off the back of that, or an uplift in profit off the back of that. But that's an interesting learning, and there's lots of things that we can start to do with that. One of them is look at the ranges that are therefore selling the ones that aren't, and maybe split the campaign in 2. Put more budget behind the one that is working, budget away from the one that is not working. So that's the first thing on the list. This is on the 26 list, and then I have another list that they've started making since yesterday as well, because they got very excited when we got so many emails in from you guys. So this was interesting. Broad match. If you've never worked with search terms and the different match types within Google before, you might not know what broad match is. in Google's infancy, before we had shopping and lots of other stuff, you would just have keywords and you'd put in a keyword saying, right, we sell potatoes. So we'll put the word potatoes in. And if you put that on what's called broad match means anything to do with the word potatoes, we can appear on Google for with our advert, which is not very targeted. So broad match traditionally has not worked very well. You're better off having a longer keyword to say like organic UK farmed or organic US farmed potatoes as a keyword, or organic potatoes or potatoes in bulk. If someone's trying to buy in bulk, just selling a single potato over the website is probably not going to make you much money. But using broad match is very dangerous. You tend to have a longer keyword and you put it on exact. So only if someone searches exactly this thing or phrase, even those things now exact and phrase, Google's trying to get smart and exact doesn't really exist anymore. But long story short, then, so that's what a broad match keyword is just anything to do with any of the words in that keyword we can appear for. It's super generic and it's very untargeted. However, for one of our clients, it's been working really, really well. Probably more than one, but this particular one has been really, really working really well with a low budget. When we push the budget, the CPA starts to drop, but on a low budget with a really high CPA target, so CPA is cost per acquisition. So low budget, high target, we're getting a really good response from there, and it is nearly as profitable as Performance Max, which is very exciting. This is interesting then. So there's a big debate. If any of you guys have run Google Shopping campaigns, you've got an agency running Google Shopping campaigns, they're probably using Performance Max or Standard Shopping, probably Performance Max. Performance Max works across every single channel. And we then have this big, not so much debate, but we do this big test internally then with Performance Max. Do we want to have what's called a blank asset group? So the only asset we give Performance Max and give Google to run on that campaign is your product listings. It's the same as they appear on Google Shopping, but then they can still appear in display or on YouTube advertising and Gmail inbox ads and other Google channels, but it's always going to be product focused. So when someone clicks through to the site, they've seen the product, whatever channel they found that on. However, one of our clients, we've actually found, we think, the perfect mix then of having both one asset group full of assets with videos, images, headlines, descriptions, site links, and all the other things to make as many ad variations, combinations as Google wants. And then also having that blank one to only run the Google Shopping feed. And by having both, one of the asset groups is doing more top of funnel, one's doing more lower funnel. And for so many clients, that doesn't work. But for one particular client, that does. So the learning here really is go and have a look at your Performance Max asset groups and go, have we put in all the information? Have we put in not much information? And most importantly, have we tried both of those just to test which one works best for our ROI? You wouldn't believe how many accounts we audit here when we get somebody reaching out saying, hey, interested in working with you guys. We have a look under the hood. We've got, I think, 5 going on right now. And they're all quite exciting. And 2 of them are in the US, 3 of them in the UK. And we find that all of them have either blank asset groups or all asset groups with all assets in them, all of those different bits and pieces. And we tend to find a complete mix as to which one works best and which one doesn't. So something you absolutely need to test. But for this client, having one full of assets and one blank seems to be the winning formula. And that is the force that we're going to be moving forward with. And we're going to be moving forward at great force. Amazing. So the next one, and we've done loads of testing on this. We've actually got some case studies on Trustpilot's website now where we've worked with some of our clients. Customers have left great reviews, but none of the great reviews are actually embedded on the website. And then when we've tested it, so one of our clients, Angela Reed, I know you guys listen to the show, so hey, one of my favorite clients, obviously, as I'm shouting you guys out. You guys are actually great to work with, and we love the journey we're on with you. When we tested changing the Trustpilot widgets, we had 111% uplift in SEO revenue and 64% uplift in PPC revenue. I know I've read those stats out on the podcast before, but have a look at your review content and have a real think about, okay, we've got these amazing reviews from our customers. Are we actually telling new potential customers, hey, we've got this amazing review, or we've got these amazing reviews over here, so go and have a look. And if you're not, obviously test it. When I say test, literally use an A/B tool and have the reviews showing on one version and the reviews not showing on the other. I'm pretty confident that, and also it's not a binary have them or don't have them. It's where you put them, how big they are, how many you display, whether you display all stars or just 5 stars, whether you put them above or below content on collection pages and product pages. The reason you A/B test it though is to fully understand how important those reviews are to your customers. I just wanted to interrupt today's episode to let you know that this episode is sponsored by TaxCloud, and they've got something heating up just in time for summer. They're teaming up with top e-commerce tools to bring you Summer School E-commerce Ops Edition, a free video series built to help you go deeper on the parts of your business that enable you to scale efficiently. You'll get one short tactical session every weekday from the 28th of July till the 8th of August. Each one is under 15 minutes and packed with insights on things like reconciliation, returns, compliance, and much more, all led by experts from the tools that top brands rely on. Sign up now at taxcloud.com/summer and get each session sent straight into your inbox. So without further ado, head over to taxcloud.com/summer. So actually, with one of our clients, we had no uplift when we first installed it. And we were all scratching our heads going, surely it's better. Like, look at all our amazing customer reviews. And one version has got no reviews at all. And one version's got all these amazing reviews on there. And we're a 5-star company. I think literally we're 5-star on Trustpilot, which means they've got no negative reviews, or so few that it's still 5 as an average. And they weren't on there. We added them and there was no uplift. So then what we did is we changed the way they look, changed the positioning, and moved them. Some pages move them further down when we think it's not the most important thing here, because we don't get much landing page traffic to that page. And then we had a 20% uplift in revenue by moving them. So again, proof's in the pudding. If you test it, you can understand how important it is. And then what you can do over time is you can say, okay, these 8 things we've tested, 5 were really important and 3 were not. And then you know from a content point of view, the winning formula of this is the right content to have on each page of our website. We should push this and we shouldn't push this. And that's a really powerful place to be from a marketing perspective. So next one down. So when you run CPA targeting on a campaign, so it's cost per acquisition. So you're basically saying every time I get a conversion, and you set your conversion up probably as a purchase if you're listening to this podcast. We do work a lot with B2B brands. We do 50% of our business is lead generation, mostly for B2B and some B2C. But with CPA targeting for you guys in the Shopify world, it's going to be purchase. So we found that actually you can set a CPA target at ad group level, but we found actually if we set an umbrella one at campaign level, Google then has a remit to say, right, I've got 20 ad groups here, but because the CPA target's set at the umbrella level, I'm going to shuffle budgets between the ad groups, or spends between the ad groups a bit more to go, this one's converting at a really low cost per conversion to help me hit that overall target. So I'm going to spend more on these ones. And we found actually that umbrella target for this particular client worked a lot better than trying to micromanage them individually. And the umbrella is where you set it at campaign level, and then all the ad groups have, say you set it at £50 per acquisition for a new customer, or just for a customer. Then you find that every ad group is set at £50, £50. That worked better than when we tried to modify the individual ad groups to say, well, this ad group here, let's go £42 because it's working well. This one needs to be 60 because it's hardly showing because the CPA is too low, the CPA target. So that umbrella CPA targeting, when you're using CPA targeting on a search campaign, seems to work much better than individual ad group ones. I'm trying not to get too technical. My team are very technical, as you can tell. They're lovely people and they communicate well, but they've gone to town because this was for me to look at. So I'm trying to digest these as we go through. The more specific the keywords for higher our conversion, the higher our conversion rate, which makes sense. This was actually for a hotel company rather than an e-commerce site, but they were still booking a hotel room and paying for it. So there's still an e-commerce revenue value there, but it's for a hotel room rather than a product. But this one in particular is when we looked at the keyword list that was working we're probably about 3 or 4 months in with this client, luxury hotel, and then the county or state that they're based in. That is the best keyword that we've got. When we just have luxury hotel, we just have hotel in their county, not so targeted. There's lots of cheaper hotels in their state. And also just by searching luxury hotel, it was too broad we don't know where people want to travel yet. So adding the location in seemed to work much better. And the conversion rate in my notes here is 40% higher when we did a more specific keyword. So, I mean, I've been doing this we worked out today, 1st of July was 18 years I've been working in PPC advertising, and a little bit shorter in SEO, but still, I think it's about 16 years in SEO, but 18 years I've been doing it. And that was one of the first things I was ever taught is find those long tail niche keywords to go after. Within Performance Max, you can also look at your search terms. You can add negative keywords to Performance Max now as well. So looking at what people are searching to find you is really, really important. The power of whether you can, just while we're on the topic of keywords, the power on whether you can scale a business and scale it linear. So I spend more and I make more. Otherwise, you're going to spend more and you make a bit more, and then you kind of have to improve other stuff. The scalability of a business is all based on conversion rate and based on ROI. So the more money and revenue that you can make, from every customer that comes in, every pound or dollar that you spend, the more you can make from that, the more you can scale. Because the more you scale, the more generic the keywords are going to get, the bigger the markets. You're moving out of your niche as you try and spend more on Google Ads. So getting some of those conversion exercises and A/B tests just as part of what you do from the earlier days is going to help you scale. We have so many businesses that come to us, and we love you guys, and it takes us a little while, but we do crack this, which is like, I'm spending 10 grand a month. I want to be spending 50,000 a month. And it's like, okay, we can spend $50,000 a month. Right now, we probably can't even spend it because we couldn't get the conversion. So the campaign wouldn't even run because we couldn't get enough revenue from it. So we need to build brand credibility. We need to improve that conversion journey on site and run a lot of tests. So again, that luxury hotel and then their state or their county, if you're in the UK, that keyword was the best one for this particular hotel. Which is interesting because they hate calling themselves luxury, but the keyword works. We just don't use the word luxury in the adverts. We still get that brand awareness across. Competitor campaigns. I love these. So competitor campaign is where you say, all right, I use Nike and Adidas all the time. So let's think of a different analogy. Okay, I'm looking for a Dell laptop and I'm selling Dell laptops. So when people are looking for Dell laptops, I'm Dell, come to me. However, when people search for an Apple MacBook, they might actually end up buying a Dell laptop if I tell them why Dell laptops are better than Apple MacBooks. So a competitor campaign is where we put the keyword in as Apple. We might put it as Lenovo. I know it's the same operating system, but we want you to buy a Dell, not a Lenovo. HP, Packard Bell. Do they still exist? That was my first ever computer. It was a Packard Bell, and it was in 2 bits. It was a separate screen to the actual desktop bit. But when people search up all those competitor brands, you have those brands as your keywords, and then you have an advert that talks about why you're better than them. So if you have an ad group for HP, and say HP have got this lovely new touchscreen functionality. I use Mac, I'm afraid, so I don't really know what's going on in the PC world. But say you use, say on the HP, you can use a pencil to draw like you can on a MacBook, on an iPad. You can draw on the screen and that sort of stuff. But actually, everyone's complaining about it. Again, data is king here. Everyone's complaining about it, but they're not complaining about the Dell ones. They're saying Dell, it actually works, and it works really, really well. So anyone looking for those models of HP laptop where we're getting bad reviews, we could say something about, ignore all the bad, don't go with a laptop that has bad reviews, or we are the most or highly rated or best reviewed or best or 5-star reviews on our new Dell touchscreen laptops, whatever it might be. So have a look at your competitors and think about what can we do to fight them and run ads on them. Equally, some brands we work with have a truce when they've actually reached out to their competitors and said, look, we're all just going to make Google really rich and clock up loads of advertising spend if we all start targeting each other's names. So actually, let's all agree we're not going to target each other's names at all. And let's just go after normal non-brand traffic that we want to target. Cool. Right, next one. This one's quite long. This is from, I should be reading out names, by the way. So the first one was from Daisy. The rest are from Dan. This one so far, this is from some of the guys on my PPC team. This one's from Ruby. So this one is, when adding budget to PMAX, the ROI keeps decreasing instead of increasing, which is what we want. So we're looking at how much is being spent on products versus other areas, and we saw a big imbalance. That's, as I was explaining earlier with the asset groups. If you put images and videos and other stuff in, Google's going to advertise that, and people can click on those. And you've also got your product feed in PMAX, and people can click on product ads when they see those. And we realized actually not a lot of people are clicking on product ads whatsoever. So the solution, and Ruby only started this literally last week. So on the result, it says, too soon to say. Sorry, Nick. That's fine, Ruby. We'll let you off. But what it says on here is that the Ruby's then moved all of those products out of PMAX and put them in a standard shopping campaign. So big question then, what's the difference and why should I care? Even if you know the difference, let me explain why there's a power in that. So PMAX can run across every single channel, and it will make its own assets. That's right. Google's your creative director now, which is a terrible idea. Sorry, Google. One day they're going to send a hitman after me. I've badmouthed Google and Meta and other people so much over the years. But Google will then start making their own visuals, their own ad copy, which they'll take from site, digest it. We all know how bad content writing from AI is at the moment. There's a few good streams and niches of it, but generally speaking, it's not anywhere near as good as a human. So standard shopping says to Google, the only ads you can show are Google shopping ads on Google itself. So no YouTube, display, Gmail, just on Google itself, just the shopping ads. and I only want content to show in those ads that I've given you via my product feed. So we're saying to Google on this, and this is, I had a quick look at this with Ruby when she was setting it up as well. We looked at the search volumes on some of the keywords that we should be targeting on Google. We were getting nowhere near as many impressions as we should. Hey guys, I just want to take a moment aside from today's episode to introduce one of our amazing sponsors, Cavella. They are the all-in-one platform that helps you design, sample, and launch your product lines. Cavella are helping Shopify brands save up to 40% on stock costs thanks to their smart, streamlined supply chain. That means more profit for you, less costs, and loads of time saved in trying to get stock on your shelves. Right now, you can fast-track their waiting list and get 50% of your first sample order just by using the code WINNING at checkout. This is an exclusive offer for Winning with Shopify podcast listeners. Just go to the link in our description or in our bio to unlock the savings and skip the queue. You build your brand, save on stock, and step into the future of e-commerce with Cavella. That code again, WINNING. Back to the episode. So it probably won't work on day one. We're going to create the campaign. She's launched the campaign, and the job then is just adding as many negatives as possible to streamline the campaign down. We also need to get some conversion data before we can change the targeting, say, just go after conversion. So nice little quick win there. I'm just looking at the clock. I'm probably not going to get through all 26, let alone the second list I've got as well, but we'll get through as many as we can. This one's interesting. Customers, this one's from Daisy in our team. Customers were more inclined to use free delivery than they were when we offered them £5 off or £10 off. The irony is delivery costs £4.50. So if we offer free delivery, that costs us £4.50, but we get a higher conversion rate than when we give them £5 off the order, which covers the delivery cost. Or when we give them 10% off, which most people spent over £100, which meant the 10% off is like £10 plus on average, which is really silly. So people are getting less of a discount, but the psychology of free delivery worked better than when we offered them a better monetary discount. How silly is that? Customers are so illogical, and I love examples like this because it actually starts to show that people are really illogical and really irrational and really lazy. You just need to make it super obvious for them. Right, so Elliot from our team then. I've only got stuff from 4 of the team, and I was about to add stuff until I saw it on the list. Cool. So on this one in particular, it's a wine client. When we started targeting cases of wine, so 6+ bottles, I think that is. 6+ bottles. When we started targeting cases of wine, even on the single items we put on the Google shopping listing, buy a case or part of a case. So it's one bottle, but you can buy it in a case. I think we put single or case. That started increasing our average order value significantly, encouraging customers to buy 6 instead of 1 or 2, or building their own box of 6. It was like, buy a few boxes of 6, and more people were doing that. We also wanted to stand out against competitors. So another thing that Elliot did, and again, I remember chatting with the client on this, Matthew, who I think you listen to the show as well. So hello, Matthew. And we actually have a few Matthews as clients, but Matthew from the UK. We started putting top rated, and this is the one that we rated the top, or he rated. Matthew thinks this is top rated product. So top rated big red wine case is one of his headlines. Click-through rate and ROI has really increased quite dramatically. And we're going to stay with Elliot for a few more then. He then took the same approach across other wines in the group, which is the next one down. Again, really started to work well. And selling wine in the UK, instead of just saying like, this is a rosé or a blush, actually calling it American Gold Country is one of the brands, or one of the things he's put on there. And he's also added bestseller, which he's put in bold here, because that is one of the best-selling products. By calling it bestseller, oh, that's exciting. Best-selling wine, I'm into my wines, and I want to buy some wine. So bestseller seems to work really, really well in the Google Shopping title for some of those products. And we'll do one more from your list as well, Elliot. Budget was being spent on products that were not performing, similar to the one that Daisy mentioned earlier. We've actually Elliot has then split them out into, not into different campaigns, but different asset groups. So the stuff that's working well and is quite high is all in one asset group. And then we've got another asset group where it's low. And Elliot's put in the notes here as well that the campaign has started to spend more, which is one of the challenges, and we're getting a better ROI. And the low is now doing the opposite, which is good. So the spend on low has dropped quite significantly. He's also mentioned he's actually split into campaigns now to control budget. So again, sometimes breaking down PMAX campaigns into smaller campaigns works really well. Sometimes putting them together works really well. But again, my whole message today is the devil is in the detail and the data. Right, let's get a few more from some of the other people in the team now. Another one on broad match keywords, where we tested it, and we've actually running a campaign with broad match keywords, targeting maximize conversions, and then also putting a very either maximize conversions or a very low CPC. We've done this quite a lot over the years to say to Google, you can send loads of generic traffic. Like, if we sell clothing, just send the word clothing, let's just appear for that, or t-shirts, let's just appear for that. But what we'll do is we're going to have such a low cost per click that actually we can get thousands of clicks very, very cheaply. So we only need 1 or 2 orders to make it profitable, which is the opposite of all the other stuff I've just said about working in niches. Tend to find one extreme is better. Either get loads and loads of really cheap traffic, or actually let's pay more for our traffic to get high quality traffic that we know is going to convert really, really well. So either works from a total ROI perspective. What you don't want to be doing is trying to bid in the middle with people, half mass market, half not, or trying to overbid for mass market or underbid for the niche stuff. That's where you're not going to get the ROI. It's just not going to work. Let's have a look at some others. One of the new clients we took on board, we added price assets. So when PMAX then runs a text ad for something that somebody's looking for, having what's called a price asset, so these are called extensions, makes it actually makes the advert a little bit bigger, doesn't cost any more per click. But those price assets, being able to say, this is the price range of this particular product that you're looking at, or if someone's looking for, I don't know, office desks, we can say £150 to 10 grand for a single desk, or we could say our desks range from £1,000 to £15,000, which then means if someone's going, I just need a desk for £80 or $100 or something like that, don't come to our website, we're too expensive for you. So we don't want to pay for the click when they're too expensive. There's actually a note on another one a little bit further down on that exact point, which I just want to emphasize because this is really, really important. Not so much in Google Shopping you can't do this, but certainly in text ads, display ads, video content that you create. Sometimes getting a balance between the people that we can help and also actually talking in your ad content and your advertising and marketing about the people we can't help can also be really, really powerful. We work with an insurance company here in the UK. They insure cars and lots of stuff to do with the motor industry. Or automotive, as you guys call it, the automotive in America. That's the end of my American accent for the day. But automotive, you guys call it. The interesting thing we've seen with these guys is when we got a list of all of the insurance leads that we had generated for them, we looked through all those leads and said, okay, can you guys add a column to this spreadsheet and tell us the rejection reasons? The reason that you couldn't offer them insurance, or the reason that you've rejected them as a customer. And it was things like, okay, this person has been in prison before. This person hasn't been driving long enough. So their driving license needs X years before we can insure them. I think it was a mechanic. If you're below the age of 21, we can't insure you. And by adding some of those things into the actual ad copy, saying like, we insuring mechanics for, insuring mechanics 21 plus, 4-year driving, or 21 plus or 4 years driving experience required, and then but couple it with USPs. We've had an issue with a couple of clients in the past where we've put so many kind of negative things in. We're not actually doing marketing anymore. We're doing what I'd like to call anti-marketing. We're telling you not to come and buy from us. But in the retail world as well, again, a lot of you guys, almost all of you guys are on Shopify or similar e-commerce platforms selling products. Actually putting in a few turn-offs or even a turn-off that looks like a turn-on for a customer can be really, really powerful. So a good example of this can be that if your products are quite expensive, how do you get that across without saying like, our hoodies start at £200? What you actually do is you say our hoodies are made from the world's finest merino wool. That's a really good way of opening that up. And people will see that and go, the world's finest, it's merino wool. That's all really, really powerful stuff. Anyway, let's go to my list then. So I didn't add these into the other ones. What I find interesting, we mentioned about the products earlier, and there was a 60-30 split. Sorry, 2/3 and 1/3, not 60-30, that makes 90. 66 and 34, we'll call it, percent. So a third of the products were actually selling, and 2/3 of the products, getting all my maths wrong today, 2/3 of the products that we were advertising and spending money on our ads were not selling. I've called it the 80-20 split. I'd actually split your products by 80%. You're spending 80% of your budget probably on 20% of your products, and you need to work out which 20% to go after. Doesn't always work, doesn't apply to everybody. None of this stuff applies to everyone, but something you should absolutely look at to go, is that a problem for me? Yes or no? The frequently bought together is incredibly powerful. And when I talk about this, I'm not talking about maybe you would add it to site and say this item's frequently bought alongside this one. But actually what I'm getting at here is in terms of you knowing your data to say people who bought this product also bought this one. You can do a lot of work around audiences and targeting in Google Ads to say people that bought a table lamp also bought a bulb and bought a lampshade. Okay, well, right now I've got those campaigns split. So actually, if you're in an audience group in campaign A, you're only going to see shades. And actually, that's in terms of cost, the bulb's the cheapest, then the shade, then the table lamp. So actually, by having those things grouped together, both on the website when people are browsing about, to have pick a lamp, pick a shade, pick a bulb, and bundle them together. I know it can be quite clunky to get bundling like that to work on Shopify, but it's so worth it. Anyway, I've got time for one more. We got 1 minute. What we're going to go for, optimum product prices. Really cool case study that I've mentioned several times, and we've done it more than once. We're about to do it again. We have doubled the price of all of our clients' products overnight and lost less than 50% of our sales. So now the volume of sales has dropped by, say, 30%, but our revenue now is up significantly. So the 70% of sales that we still have, we're making 140% of the starting point revenue, and we're shipping 30% less products. We've got way more stock left after making more money. There are apps you can use. There's a few that we're endorsed by and have partnerships with if you want to reach out, and we can certainly make an introduction or even get you a discount. I always say to people, never buy any tech without talking to us. We get discounts. We've got advice on this. But the apps will take whatever your current price is, that becomes the baseline price. And then what it does is it keeps increasing the price a bit on each product to come back and say, all your products now have increased about $8 on average in price, and you're making more money. And that is time up. I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope it's been useful. Again, you guys reached out by popular demand on this. If any of this doesn't make sense, you want me to look at stuff, send us an email, hello@winningwithshopify.com, share a screenshot of what's going on in your Google Ads and say, Nick, this makes no sense. And me or one of my team will pick it up and get back to you guys as quickly as possible. Next episode will be out. This is Friday right now in your world, not my world, but your world when you're listening to this. It'll be Friday this has come out. We will have another Tuesday Talks with a new title and some really interesting news, actually. It's been, even though it's only Wednesday at the time I'm recording, it's been a really interesting week in the Shopify world. There's loads going on. So make sure you check out my little episode on Tuesday, and we'll probably have another guest again next Friday. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Do you ever find that in your warehouse you have dead stock? You can't sell it, no one wants to buy it, and you can't get a refund on it. Or alternatively, you're missing inventory in your warehouse that you need. You've got sales coming in and you're low on stock and you haven't ordered more stock in time. All these things hit profit, and I've been there. I've run my own Shopify store and had exactly that problem. But we've partnered it up with Inventory Planner, who have the most incredible app to help you manage that and forecast exactly what products, what SKUs, even down to what color of product you need to order in advance to make sure stock levels remain consistent throughout. They're also running a 7-day boot camp. And if you want to go and sign up to that, it's 7 emails over 7 days. And it takes the same amount of time as your morning coffee. And in 7 days, like me, you can become an inventory management pro. Both links are in the description. Enjoy.